call.
Oh no, we didn't have a transcript of the call. We had a summary of the call. That was not a transcript. At least at first, it wasn't a transcript. It was structured like a transcript, but it was it was explicitly just a summary of the call.
I'm sorry, the cover up has been complete.
Yes, but we finally got the guy's identity like weeks later, and you're not going to believe it. And I thought it was a joke, but the guy's name is Eric Charamella, and he is a CIA analyst and former National Security Council staffer who worked for the Obama and Trump administrations as a career intelligence officer. Our whistleblower was a CIA agent.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand the point. What's the problem with that?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Oh, actually, also speaking of things that there's nothing wrong with, I almost forgot about this. During the Trump presidency, there were actual Israeli spying devices discovered near the White House lawn.
Cut the feed.
Right.
Craig,
again, that's not
stop
important.
recording. Marcel's going to ruin his career.
Right. That's it. I'm finished.
You can't just lay out facts like that. That's a hate fact, Marcel.
Exactly. Okay. So now let's talk about things that are actually important, like the fact that Jacob Hornberger is running for president.
So Jacob Hornberger is running for president.
Tell us about him, Dan. What's this guy about? What's his story?
Jacob Hornberger is he's kind of a Ron Paulian kind of figure. He's a mild-mannered, square, middle-aged, sort of conservative guy. He runs a institution out of Laredo, Texas called the Future of Freedom Foundation, which is a very good libertarian institution. Like Ron Paul, he's a constitutional limited government guy, but also like Ron Paul, he's as radical as they come. Right on the top of Future of Freedom right now, if you go there, they have saying, "Why aren't Hiroshima and Nagasaki war crimes?" written by Jacob G. Hornberger himself. According to Scott Horton, because of his long history in the libertarian movement and in the party, he's one of these people that everybody likes. So the establishment people like him because they know him. He's a good guy. Everybody likes him, and he's been around a long time.
To be fair, everybody knew Donald Trump and thought he was a good guy. And there's an actual sketch you can find of Donald Trump and George Lopez just together making jokes. Right. I mean, you can fall far for having the wrong opinions.
No, what I mean is in terms of his ability to get the Libertarian Party nomination, he doesn't have any enemies there. Everybody likes him. He's somebody everybody could agree on. If he gets the nomination, the idea among people like Tom Woods and Scott Horton would be that everybody tries to flood into the party, which apparently the Libertarian Party only has 15,000 members. I couldn't believe that that's true, but I guess it's true. I mean, as a point of reference, the Tom Woods show has 50,000 listeners. So if everybody who listened to Tom Woods spent $25 and became a LP member, they could basically pick whoever they want to be the Libertarian nominee. It seems like as much as John McAfee might be our guy, John McAfee is still our guy in our hearts. Although in terms of somebody that can be a Libertarian nominee who, when they are on TV, you're probably not going to be cringing, and you know that they'll probably give a rough idea of what you believe, or at least something that you could defend, it's probably going to be Jacob Hornberger, if we can get it. But that's just a public service announcement for anybody that's interested in that kind of thing, that the LP race might have a real candidate this year that could at least do something interesting. Who knows, with Trump in the landscape and everything, it's all so crazy now, but the idea is a Ron Paul type, someone who could spread the message. So at least it's not Gary Johnson or someone who every time somebody says, "Oh, you're a libertarian," and they look up the Libertarian Party, you just go, no, don't.
Find some guy just talking with his tongue out.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. Jacob Hornberger is somehow a constitutional radical. He's good on the wars and all that, and he's kind of good on everything. He's not afraid to touch topics like he wrote a recent book on the JFK autopsy and what was wrong with it. I guess I guess we would call him a conspiracy theorist, but he's not nuts. So just something to keep your eye on.
No conspiracy theorist is nuts.
Right. So if you look, well, as Murray Rothbard once was quoted as saying, all conspiracies are true. He said that to Ralph Raico.
Conspiracies really are kind of like Yahweh. They just are.
Yeah. But that's pretty much all on libertarian news. So just keep an eye on that if anyone's interested in that kind of thing. If you
Has John McAfee done anything particularly notable, exciting?
John McAfee has sent out a great series of tweets about how he doesn't pay his taxes, and people keep telling him, John, why don't you just pay your tax bill so that you aren't on the run from the feds and you can just live a normal life? To which he replies, "Wake up! They don't want my money; they want my silence," or something like that. Wake up is always just a great response whenever someone tells you to pay your taxes. John McAfee's out there just crazy, loving every minute of it. He's not going anywhere. I hope he runs for real in the Libertarian nominee. But at the same time, I kind of hope he doesn't because, well, no, I hope he does because it's just too much fun. Even if Hornberger might be an actual candidate that's real, it would be nice to have a fun meme candidate on our side. If we can't get Jacob Hornberger or someone like that that's like a Ron Paul type that like goes out there and makes the serious case, then I at least want a John McAfee who just goes out there and says like, don't pay your taxes, buy drugs. That's something. It's something. It's better than fucking fiscally
don't be a fool,
conservative, socially liberal,
Yeah, say yes to drugs, don't be a fool, drop out of school.
That kind of stuff.
Okay, let's see. So that's libertarians. Okay, in the media, we've been talking about the media already, but so as we all know, Epstein didn't kill himself. That's been the new hot meme lately. Much like jet fuel doesn't melt steel beams, except in this case, well, no, actually, both statements are actually true. Although I'm a little concerned that Epstein didn't kill himself, even though we now all remember it, it's not actually doing anything.
No, it's just become a meme. It's just a thing where now everyone just blasé knows like, oh, Epstein didn't kill himself, but nothing's coming.
Yes,
nobody cares.
It normalized it.
Yes.
It's like we're entering a phase that superficially reminds me of the show Narcos when Pablo Escobar is like killing judges and stuff. And everybody knows Pablo did it, but the world's kind of resigned to the fact that nothing's going to be done about it. And with Epstein, part of the problem is that so many people are implicated that they can just, there's a sort of an ephemeral they that killed him.
And two of the guards, I guess, were indicted or charged with falsifying records. And John McAfee predicts it will go all the way to the top. My prediction is that it will not go all the way to the top. We'll never even learn these two guards' names. They'll just be sacrificed as scapegoats. And the giant web of drugs and child trafficking and sexual exploitation of children and blackmail operations that lies at the heart of the entire United States government and the world government's systems will just be swept under the rug, as it was when there's this thing that's bubbling underneath the surface of all politics. I'm going off of my crazy conspiracy rant, but this is all true, where there's just a giant series of webs that are all blackmail operations where different groups, including the CIA and private groups, and they're not all a big conspiracy necessarily, but there's lots of people out there peddling drugs and sex trafficking and trafficking of children.
Some I assume are good people.
And some I assume are good people. Peddling all this to politicians so that they can corrupt them or attract the people who are already corrupted and use the information to blackmail them for political purposes, for power.
It's important to realize, I don't think you or I believe that all of these people are actually pedophiles.
I believe that all of them are actually pedophiles.
Oh, no. Okay. Then I don't.
No, I don't believe that all of them are actually pedophiles. Some I assume are good people.
So, that is, I'm sure like there's a systematically more than in the general population. But what I mean more is they're doing it explicitly for power's sake, right? That they're not, mentally ill or broken on the inside, and that makes them. No, they've been running the same race, up in the same hurdles, in the same culture we are, similar human disgust responses. They got it all, but they want to be senator.
Yeah, exactly. What we're dealing with is a ring of psychopaths, Satanists, child abusers, and as you said, some I assume are good people.
Yeah.
But this thing bubbles up, like corners of it bubble up every so often. They bubble up with Jeffrey Epstein. It's about every 10 years or so. There was the congressional page scandal where we found out that they were just fucking all these pages, and then they had to pay them all off, and now pages aren't children anymore. Now they have to be adults. They are all college students. Because they used to be high school students. But that became a problem because if you put a bunch of high school students in Washington, D.C. around congressmen and senators, they will rape them. So they had to replace them with 18-year-olds that they could rape. And that bubbled up for a while. It was squashed. Nothing happened. There was the Craig Spence scandal where this guy, Craig Spence, who you should all look up, was doing the same thing Epstein was doing. He's selling children to people and blackmailing them. There was the Franklin cover-up, which bubbled up a few years before that. This thing just keeps bubbling up, and every time you will find someone to say, holy shit, they're all going down. And every time, nobody goes down, and whoever's involved just dies or disappears, and then it just ends, and everyone goes, good to know that this was not actually a thing, and this was just a figment of our imagination. Nothing ever comes of it. Epstein's Island exists. Everybody knows about it. We all have footage of it. We see that creepy ass fucking dome of the rock thing on there with a bed in it and the scaffolding. And we all know that you can look this up. It's publicly available knowledge that was circulating that the last time he was indicted, he bought a paper shredder and had it sent to his house in New York, and that this time he was indicted, he got a carpet remover and tile extractor sent to his house in what is known as Pedophile Island. This is all something everybody knows. This thing keeps bubbling up. People keep thinking heads are going to roll. It's all coming down. It never happens. It's going to happen again. And 10 years from now, 15 years from now, something like that, another little corner of this will pop up, and we'll find some rinky-dink thing like, oh, did you know that the Speaker of the House, Dennis Hastert, was a convicted pedophile? That happened 10 years ago. No one cares. Nothing happened. Did you know, even though in the Pizzagate emails, we saw that the Clinton people were saying explicitly, there was people talking about how, oh, we're all still good friends with Denny Hastert, convicted pedophile. This is known. This is what these people do. Nothing comes of it. Nothing happens. This is why don't run for Congress.
Yes.
You think you're going to, I'm going to get, some money for the Boy Scouts or something. I'm going to raise, I'm going to make something great for the world. I'm going to cure homelessness or something. And next thing you know, you're in some pizza parlor basement, and they're handing you a knife and telling you stab this 8-year-old kid in the chest. And you're going, I don't know if I signed up for this.
It's sort of reverse casting couch situation.
Yeah, it is. Like, wait, what do I have to do?
You walk into the room and there's a girl already sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
Oh,
God, what a horrible image. What a ghoulish fucking scene you just put into the minds of all of our viewers.
Speaking of politicians who want... Oh, do we want to talk about the OPCW thing first, actually? Yeah, so basically... Assad, as we know, was accused of gassing his people about once a year. The prospect of a dictator gassing people resonates with the American psyche as something that must be stopped at all costs, for understandable reason. Assad was accused of gassing people in context where even if you were to step into the role of an evil dictator, it just doesn't make sense. So you would have it where Assad would, his enemies are on the run, the walls are closing in on the Syrian rebels, and then he's accused of, basically in his moment of triumph, also poison gassing them. Right. Yeah. Often, and he would also somehow only ever gas people after the United States indicated that it might be thinking of pulling out. Right. So if we have to assume that basically Assad wants to kill all of his enemies in a way that U.S. soldiers are always around to see him do it and sort of and validate his existence by bombing him. And then finally, a member at the OPCW, which is the Office for the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, which I'm guessing is a UN body.
It's a watchdog organization. It's headquartered at The Hague.
Of course. And yeah, basically it was an employee said that a lot of these reports were were doctored and exaggerated, which we all knew. Also, speaking of Syria, the founder of the White Helmets, which is ostensibly a civil service sort of medical urban